move on to our next slot, which is a panel discussion. So, Tom, if I could invite you, as well as the others who are here for the panel discussion, to please join us at the front. We have a panel discussion on building a research career in multimodal AI. And the panel, we have two questions. We will start with the first one, which I will read out in a minute. But just firstly, might you just reintroduce yourselves briefly so that we're all reminded of who each other are? My name's Pete. I'm an independent researcher interested in wearables and health.
Tom. I'm Tom. I'm a yes man. I end up saying yes to everything. Yeah.
I'm Henry. I'm almost always yes man.
I'm Natalia. I'm a yes woman, but I also work in Lloyd's Banking Group on responsible AI and implementation.
I'm Julia Hirschberg. I work at Columbia on speech and natural language processing.
I'm Lugan, and I'm from Brunel University of London. I'm almost a yes lady.
Thank you all very much. And hopefully you have a couple of microphones there. Which, yeah, that one's green, so that one's turned on. So our first question, which we'd appreciate your thoughts on, is how should early career researchers decide which leadership, service, or network opportunities to take on and which to decline?
What was this again? Sorry.
Of course.
Is it working? Yeah.
Okay.
So the first question,
yes,
which we'd appreciate your thoughts on, is how should early career researchers decide which leadership, service, or network opportunities to take on and which to decline?
I mean, I've already did a spoiler, but yeah, I have always been very inclined to say yes to things, and so you're kind of looking at the product of someone who said yes to lots of things. I'm not sure I would recommend to other people to do the same. I think that it's what you end up doing is having too many things to do and not doing a good job at a lot of those things, and so I have become quite conscious of the fact that I'm overcommitting. In fact, when we talked about synthetic data, and the reason I know about this MPJ digital medicine or digital health special issue is because I was invited to be a guest editor for that. And initially I was going to say yes, and then I met with the editor-in-chief of the journal, and he said, look, it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to take a few hours each week. And then I started to think about it and think, actually, that isn't a sensible thing to do. And I still, it's on my mind because I feel like that, there's a fear of missing out, and but I do think if you say yes to everything, you start doing a bad job at the things you're interested in. I guess where I am now is I'm becoming a bit more focused. For me, what I try and do is put myself around people who I think are good people to be around, people who I trust, people who do good work. And I think if you're in an environment, with good people, then those people will help you out and support you, and good things will happen. It's why Pete here I respect very highly. I know that he does very good work. I know that he gets involved in interesting projects. And when Pete invited me, the reason I said yes was because there's someone I respect and trust. And so I don't think saying yes to everything is good advice. I think saying yes when it's work with someone who you respect and trust, say yes then.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Oh, sure, yeah. So, being a yes man, I said I was a yes man, but that's probably not a good practice. But realistically, what I wanted to say is there will be lots of things that you will feel obligated to do, or you will actually be obligated to do, and you might have to do those obligations. But I've always found that people tend to be true to themselves, so at some point, you're going to not do what you don't want to do. And that's just part of it. And I think that's okay, because I think in science and in engineering and in our ecosystem, it's important to have people who love doing specific aspects of different things. For example, I got to where I was because a bunch of people decided that while they loved science and engineering, they also wanted to be a little entrepreneurial. So I was able to attend lots of different meetings or sessions or sit down with people who wanted to talk about that, right? And they found time in their very busy schedule when they should be publishing papers or should be talking to customers to talk to me. And I think that you will just need to figure out what is your balance, and you will eventually just do what you feel like is right for you to do. We have an independent researcher here, we have research scientists here, we have people working in banking, professors, so clearly this is a great, rich ecosystem that I think we should continue to support by having people do what they want to do.
Thank you. I think the question is very nicely, interestingly structured as well. I think when you're young and you're a young career researcher at this stage, it's such a great time to experiment and try into different things and find out who you are, what do you want to do, try, make mistake, drop them, try something else. Because there's so many times I've heard people saying, oh, I wish I did this. Oh, I wish I haven't declined it. Oh, I wish I prioritized it. Because you just never know which path is right for you. And I think when you are early stage researcher, you're still searching yourself, who you are, who you want to be. So I think in order to avoid that regrets further down the line of your professional career, even sometimes in personal life, I think potentially it's worth experimenting, making mistakes, trials and errors, and then just, finding who you are to avoid this painful feeling of regret later on in your life. So personally, I'm a yes person because, and I've always been a yes person, to be honest with you, because I quite enjoy, again, there's a feeling of, fear of missing out, but also the feeling of not really finding out who you are, who you want to be, because if you haven't identified who you are yourself, someone else will decide it for you. There's no problems. The people will always find something for you to do, and you will always be a resource. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to be your own resource or you want to become somebody else's resource further down the line. That's my personal experience and perspective.
Well, so for different categories of people, for example, for all of my students, I suggest that they do whatever they want to do and try things, because one thing is they're going to eventually need to get a job, but there's no real way of producing some information from yourself that will get you a job. So I just say, try everything that you want to try, and I'll do my best to help you. Now, if you are a junior faculty member, it's very different. You have to do particular things so that you can get updated and finally get tenure. So I also, when I mentor these junior people, I tell them exactly what they need to do, and please ask them please to do it. But they can also do a lot of things that I don't care about. And then when you're a senior person, I do really everything I'm asked to do, because now is a time when you really need to do that. There's so many people that want to get in the U.S., that want to be able to get visas so that they can stay in the U.S., and I don't even know them, but they ask me to write them a letter, and I do. So sometimes you have to just do a lot of things for people that will help them. So that's it.
Yeah, so I echo their answers. So, as I said, that I'm almost a yes lady, but for early career researchers, I would like to say that less is more and slow is fast. So really focus on something you are interested and something that motivates you. Say different people have different interests. It's very difficult to say formulate something which says, okay, you need to do this or do that. So especially if you are toward the end of your PhD study, so I think that you need to talk to senior people, and then say, and also attending some events, like great events like this one, and then engage with people to learn from their mistakes or their successful stories. And then say, think carefully what you want to do. Because with AI, we tend to work more, harder. So I just say, all right, I want to need to be more productive. Like, Tom mentioned, there's a number of publications scale exponentially. But in the meantime, that I want you to slow down a bit and say, no, follow your hearts and identify your own interests, and also talk to people.
Thank you very much. I think we have a slight range of views, which I think is quite helpful for people to find their own way through that question. Perhaps we could touch on the second question, which is, beyond papers, what skills will matter most for the next generation of multimodal AI researchers?
I can start. I think, I mean, for me, and I'm kind of echoing just what my boss told me, one of the most important skills, and I think will continue to be one of the most important skills, is communication. I've seen very good, extremely technically competent researchers come through MIT who have kind of not got the credit I think they deserve because they were unable to express the work that they were doing to others. And so, I think that's just always, going to be important. I'm a bit confused about, I would have said if you'd asked me a few years back, being able to, having strong technical skills, having, really honing basic, technical skills. For me, that's, I guess I'm a computer scientist, so that would be being able to, create an environment on your computer to be able to work efficiently. Understanding the importance of writing good quality code, writing unit tests, writing testing frameworks so you're actually continuously checking the quality of your code, being able to use version control, being able to work with others who are using version control, extremely, I think, powerful, relatively simple things to learn that I think are in general undervalued in academia because we don't have a very structured way of teaching these skills to people who are working with computers who aren't necessarily computer scientists. I still kind of think those are important things. I would have but also language models have changed things kind of greatly. Who uses agentic? Who writes code? Who uses agents to write code? Probably. I mean, it's interesting. Most people, I think. Agents have just changed the way we produce code, and so I'm kind of a bit confused about where I stand about being able to write code, whether it's necessary or not. But I certainly think the basic technical skills are necessary and communication is necessary.
I think some of them, I would echo what was being said, which is you need to have substance. I think that's I want to say that that's a given, especially for people here. And I guess I will also be courageous enough to comment on what it takes to be a multimodal AI researcher, not being a multimodal AI researcher per se. But just what I've found to be actually unreasonably effective is communication, but in two formats. One is writing it down in a way that is communicable to people that's not in your technical domain. So figure out how to write a 2-pager about whatever you're thinking about, even if it's not a technical report. The ability to communicate across different stakeholders, whether that's policy people, funders, that's incredibly important as you start to try to build or fund a particular research group. I think that's really important. Number 2 is also force yourself to give talks. That's also very important. So being able to communicate what you do, what you like to do in short formats, in long formats, to all sorts of different people. I guess the best skill to have is be okay feeling uncomfortable.
Thank you. I also would like to agree with my highly esteemed co-panelists. Well, I mean, soft skills are very important. I'm a computer scientist by background, and which means I chose my profession because kind of you have personal kind of anxiety, so you would rather work with machine rather than talk to people. And I really enjoyed doing my PhD where I just had to talk to nobody for weeks and I just focused on my code, and I was so comfortable in that space until I actually was released in the real world and world of finance, like I do in financial AI, and soft skills, communications, ability to influence other people is everything in finance. So, and having success to a certain degree is even much more determined by soft skill rather than hard skills, because it's so it's important, obviously, to build networks, to build your even communities which will support you, to even promote those ideas which are technical ideas. They're powerful ideas, they're good, they're great, but however, you still need this level of social support, social network support, endorsement, humans in the loop, as I call them, my friends. So they will be able to help your work get promoted and, seen and communicated, etc. So yeah, absolutely agree. Well, so soft skills will never go out of the fashion, even in the age of AI, in the age of agentic AI. Yes, there's nothing to add here. I think it's absolutely critical and crucial.
Yes. So I do know a lot about this since I have done a lot of things, and those things are things that could be very helpful for you. If you work with a lot of different groups and a lot of different companies like ACL and ISCA and things like that, you get up in their view because they really love to have people who are active in helping their work. And also, I'm saying you should try to become a fellow of as many things as you can, because that really makes you a much more famous person. And become a fellow of ACL or ISCA, InterSpeech, and also just joining a lot of groups that are like NAE and things like that. There's just a lot of things that in the future you would want to do so that you can become higher and higher and higher and get really famous, and then get to do what you want to do. If you want, other people want you to join their group, their university, or they want to give you a job, and you don't have to take it, but at least you get the options. So I know this is going to be in the very future for a lot of you guys, but this is something to think about, doing eventually, maybe in 10, 20 years.
Okay, so I agree with them, but since they already talked about communication skills and also encourage you to be fellows, I would like to say something else, which is the ability to maintain the sustainable work-life balance. You know that for multimodal researcher, you got more data and you got more papers to read on, and then you tempted to work continuously and try to produce the results in a quick, fast manner. But I would like to say that researchers a long journey who may spend tens of years to produce something wonderful. So just be kind to yourself and look after yourself. Okay, so do not rush. I know that some of my friends in China, they said that before they go to sleep, they have to let the agentic AI for them all over the night. Otherwise, they feel guilty because that when they didn't work, they want to the AI to work for them. I think that you need to, again, slow down a bit and think carefully what you want. And also look after yourself, because that we want you to be healthy and happy researcher, which you really enjoy your research. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I think also you should try to help everybody that you know, to make them, you should become friends with lots of people. It's very useful, but you really should help people. That's a really major thing. And if you do that, it's good for you and it's good for them.
Thank you all. I think you've given some very valuable advice there. I would like to open up to the floor for any further questions, career-related questions. And I think we have 5 minutes technically, but I might stretch it slightly if need be. Yes, please. There's a microphone just coming up. If you're happy to come up this side, just up here. And you still have... Tom's got a microphone, and you have one between 4.
You can share this one, okay.
To save time, those who have questions can also come to front, so our volunteers don't have to do lots of exercise, running up and down. Yeah, that's also another solution.
Thank you. So yes, please.
Oh, thank you so much for your excellent discussions and very insightful suggestions for the early career researchers. I have one question. It's mainly about the proposal Tom just mentioned in his lecture, and he's talking about some people might be interested in shutting down access to the public data set related to medical information of the people or hospitals to Chinese users. So do you have any, because as Chinese international students who's also early career researchers, I'm a bit concerned about this kind of trend. Is this kind of a deglobalization trend is common in the US and in the UK together, or is it just some people in the US? If that's the case, like, do you have any suggestions for international students like me? Like, should we just avoid using this kind of public data set in the future for our PhD projects? Or what can we do? And also, I feel there is kind of mixed kind of message from this workshop. Like, as the CEO of UK Open, she mentioned that open source is the future, and she votes for open source. So the thing you mentioned in your lecture is kind of against this kind of goal. I'm a bit confused and also a bit worried. Do you have any suggestion for me? That's my question.
I also wonder whether we should have, those are good questions. I'm slightly conscious that, that question is about my talk and not necessarily to the whole panel. But I guess I understand why it's concerning for you. It's concerning for us too. It's not something we want. It's a law. There's fear of other countries in the the US fears other countries being better than them, and that's kind of where this comes from. I think we at MIT could do a better job at communicating exactly who can access the data and who cannot. And I think one thing we should do is understand whether you as an international student in the UK count as someone who is not allowed to access the data. I think my understanding is that you should be able to access the data if you're living here. And so, we should just be clear about that ourselves and communicate that to you better. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. Do feel free to continue discussions afterwards. As Haiping suggested, if you have questions, please do make yourself come down one side or the other. We would love to hear your questions on careers.
I have a question. I think it was to touch on Jan's comments. She talks about like balance with work life and social life. I wanted to ask all of you just individually your experience of learning how to find that balance. Because I started my PhD March this year. And sometimes, yes, there's the pressure of continuously working, forgetting about my hobbies or my passions or my relationship and more focusing on my research. So I just wanted to ask how you guys, was that a continuous journey or was it at one sudden moment you figured it out? Or what was that type of journey, that finding that balance?
This is. I love your questions. I think I'm interested in what everyone says about this. I have a feeling that you might find that some of these people here, same as me, have not found the ability to have that balance. I think in research it's very common to not be able to, we do it because we're interested, not because the money is good. And the trouble is then you go on holiday and then you're kind of interested. And also you have students who are interested and you need to get back to your students. And, I work too many hours for sure. And I have not found that balance. Yeah, please.
Thank you. So I was in academia 3 years before, then I made a switch to the corporate research space. So I think what I found useful, and when I was in academia, it had absolutely zero good balance life work, because I was pursuing my passions when you're so burning with interest to the topic, you just cannot stop, right? And I found myself literally working to 3, 4 in the morning. There was no coding agents at the time. You had to debug your code by yourself 10 years ago. So I really struggled to find, and then I had a baby. So I found a real problem balancing life and work. And then I got this interesting proposition, research, tempting order, proposition from the industry, and they said that we are building this new team. I never planned to switch from academic space to corporate space, but it just happened because there was a really interesting project, an interesting group to work on. Responsible AI, emerging ethics of AI was absolutely fantastic, and it was the first bank who started working in this space. So I was tempted, so I made a switch. And when I made a switch, I've learned how to balance life and work because I started planning, literally. When this research becomes a job, in a way, there's some things you need to do rather than you want to do. Because when you're academia, you have a freedom, and you use that freedom. You abuse that freedom, and you kind of punishing yourself as well. So when it's a job, you plan, you make plans, you're much more rational about it. And when you start planning your days, everything kind of falls into slots. I wouldn't say that it just happened straight away, but like 3 years down this journey, I found it easier. I became much more pragmatic about my time. I became selfish about my time. I started telling myself when to stop and when to switch. And I think this is personally how it worked for me. But I'm sure people find different solutions, magic solutions for themselves to keep themselves sane.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm an academic and I work all the time because you've got so much to do and it's really exciting. So some of it's not very exciting, but you do both. And yeah, and you feel fine. You feel fine.
So I'm also in academia, but I allow myself to slow down and say if others get promoted, say I don't get promoted, or I didn't say get the funding this year. I still say don't tell myself don't worry. Okay, so but I plan very well. Say when to sleep and when to do the exercise, when to do the housework, say cooking, and even for my students before they come to UK, they ask me, so what do I need to prepare? I say that if you have Chinese, that prepare your Chinese cooking skills. Otherwise, that is very expensive to buy the food here. So I think that for me, I allow myself to be so fast, and because I know that long term is my goal. Yeah, especially for me, my main interest is the fundamental research, but of course I have to applied research as well. So I allow myself to slow down, and then that works better for me.
So I would have to agree with everybody here and maybe go even 10 steps too far, which is for myself, I don't have any work-life balance. I think it's work-life integration, or mostly it's just work. I am married. I have 2 small daughters. I love them very much, but I also love everything that I just presented and many more slides I didn't present. To make it even worse, our core funder is someone from the tech industry. He is a philanthropist, and so he didn't get to where he got to because he had much work-life balance or any slowing down. And I agree. So the way I think about it is I love everything I do. The best thing I can do for myself, for my family, and for the scientific ecosystem is to do more, and I just keep going. So I want agents not only at night, I'm hoping that it's working right now, and also on my phone, and I think it's wonderful.
Thank you all. Very helpful. We have one final question. Kelly, do go ahead.
Oh, hi. My name is Kelly, and I currently work in AI with wearables such as like ECG or PPG data, and I'm recently applying for like postdocs across the world. And a thing I found out was that there is actually not quite a lot of positions about like wearable data or heart-related wearable data like cardiovascular diseases. It's more about like neurosciences or more like genetic-based roles when it comes to the scenario of clinical stuff with AI. So I'm just want to ask, like, do you think that the trend has changed, or does the interest of the world has changed from wearables to other things, or it's just an accident, or if you are an early researcher at this stage, would you shift from one thing towards another? For example, moving from analyzing time series data to something else, such as genetic data?
I'd like to go first. I think this is the perfect moment for you to reverse that question, which is, what do you want to do? What is the trend you want to be a part of? If you really love wearables, doesn't matter. Find the place to do wearables and really be good at it. There are many different trends that pop up, and of course, part of running and sustaining a research group is to sustain based off of some of the trends. And so perhaps there's some aspects of what you work on that you would be really interested to work on, but painted in a different light. That's something to consider. But as you are thinking about a postdoc, I would highly encourage you to zoom out a bit to say, number one, and sorry, I'm going to say this here, but maybe don't do a postdoc. What does life look like if you don't do a postdoc? What does life look like if you do anything else that's not what you're doing today? Find some time to play around with that idea, go talk to people, and then really see. If you come back to it, that's also data and signal for what you might want to do, right? But then at the same time, be open to it. Maybe this is the perfect time for you to learn about neuroscience or learn about genetics. If you're planning out what you want to be doing after your training, which if you consider postdoc to be also continual training, things come back. And if you are really pushing for, this is what I believe in, I do see a promise in it, you may be part of that next trend at the right time. So that's something for you to consider.
I think the question is brilliant, and I think it resonates with the first question we had and discussed. So you are an early career researcher, and you can explore what you want to do. And I think the opportunity is there for you. Actually, it's a great opportunity because you kind of this certain freedom and horizons are open, so you can explore what you want to do. But at the same time, you can explore adjacent disciplines or in fields and opportunities. So, and you explore probably only academic fields at this time, but you might also want to consider corporate labs or industry, for example. So consider not just the topic of research, but also place where you want to do that, not necessarily constraining yourself to classical universities or academia. But I think it's a wonderful time. I'm a bit jealous because I think now it's kind of terrifying, but at the same time, maybe disappointing, maybe frustrating at times, but also it's a great time for you to explore and finding what you really want to do. So really enjoy yourself and relax and find what you want to do, because there's so many opportunities there. Find your own.
Oops. Well, thank you. It's very tiny. So I have a kind of less happy aspect of this for the United States. At the moment, it's very hard for people to get jobs in the United States. A lot of them start their own little companies, and that's great. But you have to, depending on where you live and where you are, just think about what sorts of things are possible for you for the next few years and check those out and find the one that you really like. But it's not always the same things. So.
Yeah, I agree with them. Just be open-minded, and then maybe attending some conferences, and then talk to people, because just narrow down your choices. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for your questions. Haiping, I think in the interest of time, we will move on to the prizes. So I will hand over to Haiping.